everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you my Pick a Stick challenge from the Art Joy of Sharing art community. Every month we have a Pick a Stick challenge, and what it is randomly drawn one-word prompts in a challenge. There's a couple colors that we use throughout the month, and then there's 6 steps, which you do them in order. And you can put something before them, in between, after. You can, do other stuff, but the steps are what you do in order. Then there's also a couple wild cards. If you don't like a step and you want to replace it with something else, you can do that too. So step 1 for this one, and by the way, I'm not doing an art journal page. I'm doing a 5x7 canvas panel because I'm still doing the 100-day project for 2021, in which I picked mixed media collage to do for 100 days. So this one will be a mixed media collage. It happened to work out with the Pick a Stick challenge, but I would have made it work no matter what. First thing I wanted to do was to give my canvas panel a little bit more priming. So I added a couple different colors of teal turquoise colors, and then some white gesso using a scraper, which gave me a little bit of texture on the canvas as well. I just needed another layer plus a little bit of color to start with. So I gave that a good dry, and then step 1 was stamp. And I didn't want to use a rubber stamp, and I didn't feel like making a stamp. So I decided to use a stencil as a stamp. All you have to do is just put some paint on the stencil, and I used yellow because one of the colors that we have this month is called Freesia, which is a bright yellow color. So I picked lemon from the Dina Wakley colors, and I just used that to press a stencil design onto my whole canvas and give it a little bit of texture. The first printing of it, I didn't have enough paint on there, so I put some more paint on my piece of paper and rolled with my brayer to get some more paint. And that piece will actually make an interesting collage piece later on, because it was some deli paper and some pink came off of the stencil that hadn't been cleaned, probably alcohol ink, I'm guessing. So it turned into something interesting as well. The next thing I did was prompt bright, and I decided to use a fluorescent pink and kind of finger paint with that in the background to add some bright color. Of course, fluorescent is definitely bright, so that's how I interpreted that prompt. Then the next one was letter, and I had this stencil that has some letters on it, so I decided to just go ahead and stencil some letters on there. I'm using a makeup brush that's kind of like shaped like a toothbrush, has soft bristles, and it works really great for stenciling intricate designs. I used some teal and some kind of a light olive green, limey green color to do that. And then the next prompt was spritz, and so I got out some Marabou Media art spray, which is a acrylic based spray, so it dries down and doesn't move with water. So I used that one in yellow and just spritzed again through that same stencil, and now I have an interesting textured background. So now I need to think about what I'm going to put on this canvas. And with these colors, the bright pink and the green and all these colors that I picked, I was thinking about putting on a flamingo. And just because of the bright pink, really, that was just what I was thinking of. And I had this little sketch on a piece of deli paper already that I was planning on using for something else, and I didn't end up doing it. So I decided to just use this image. And I was going to actually collage on the paper and then glue it on, but I decided instead to just trace around my little flamingo drawing onto the canvas, and then do some paper painting style collage with this flamingo, because step 5 was actually collage. That doesn't happen very often. It made it so easy for me to do mixed media collage on this canvas by having an actual collage prompt. Of course, the prompts, we have about 400 sticks, and they have all these different words, just all kinds of words, and we draw them out randomly. So the chances of me actually getting collage in the pick a stick challenge is very rare. And we've been doing this challenge for, oh, I think this might be the 5th year, maybe the 6th year now. So the challenge has been around a while. Of course, you can always use you can use your Google and search for pick a stick challenge, and you'll come with all kinds of stuff that people have made over the years, as well as a lot of videos. And that's always fun to do, or just like even hashtag pick a stick challenge on Instagram will bring up a lot of things. I have a playlist on my channel of all my pick a stick challenges when I remember to put them on the playlist. But there's a lot of them in there now, so I don't know. Maybe next year I'll retire it, but people are still doing it and having fun with it. People who haven't heard of it before are still doing it, and you know, I don't know. It's a good old challenge. So I have all kinds of little bits of pinks, dark pinks, light pinks, bright pinks, a paper pile here, even some kind of like a fuchsia purple type color. And I'm tearing up all these bits of paper and gluing them down using Liquitex matte gel medium to my canvas. With the exception, there is an exception here. You know, I do love matte gel medium, the thicker medium for gluing papers, but at some point I start using this thing that's in the middle there. It is actually a baby wipe, and it has a bunch of inks soaked into it because I was using it to clean up. I think it might be alcohol ink, but I'm not exactly sure. But when I started to tear it to use it, it was making these really interesting fibrous, um, fluffy bits, which I thought were super interesting. And in order to glue those on, I used some fluid matte medium. So I just put a little drop of fluid matte medium, laid the paper fibers over it, and then kind of patted them down with my brush. And that worked for the medium to be able to soak into those fibers and really stick them down. The matte medium was too dry and it wasn't soaking into these little fluffy bits that I'm tearing off of this baby wipe. That's what it is a baby wipe. You know, they call them cloth or whatever, but I don't know. It's just, I think it's probably just paper fiber. So you see me bringing in that fluid matte medium every once in a while when I glue one of those on. But then the rest of them are just getting stuck on with matte gel medium that you see me dipping my brush in that. So 2 different mediums. We've talked about this before, using different mediums for different types of papers, and that's what I was doing. So this took me a minute. I hope you guys are enjoying watching me do this. This is sped up 4 times fast, so you can tell that the most time spent on this mixed media collage canvas was doing the paper painting, and that's just how that works. I mean, they're little tiny pieces of paper stuck down as if it was paint, like in little brush strokes as if it was paint, which is why it's called paper painting. If you are enjoying this, please remember to give me a thumbs up down below the video, or to leave a comment or question. I usually answer within 24 hours. You can, of course, subscribe to my channel and turn on your notification bell, and you will be notified whenever you come onto YouTube, and it will tell you that there is a new video to watch. You can also share this or pin it on Pinterest or something like that. All those things really help my channel by telling the algorithm that YouTube has that I have valuable content and letting it recommend my channel to someone else. So that's really helpful when you do all those things. It helps my channel grow. I think I'm just about done gluing paper, almost, probably. Getting close. It's a lot of little bits and a lot of different pinks. I even put some over the tops of other ones because there was tissue paper that was translucent, And so I could change the color that's underneath by putting a little bit of this pink tissue paper over it. It's a fun process. So just making sure everything is glued down, and then of course I will dry this real quick with a heat tool just to get it dry enough that I can go to the next step. I had this gel print, that's a stenciled gel print, and I thought I would cut out some flowers from it, and then I cut out a flower from a different as well, just different one. Yellow flowers, remember we're going for this bright pink and bright yellow theme, and so I figured I'd put some flowers around my flamingo. It's looking very tropical now. The colors and the theme are very tropical. So I glued those down after I cut them out, and then I'm just checking to make sure that I've done all the steps, and I realized that there's a step pop-up, but I didn't want to make a pop-up on a canvas. I could have done something if it was in my journal, but I decided instead to skip that one and use the wild card heat, which you will see coming up in a bit. But first, I'm going to do some shadowing. This pen is a sepia brown color. When I was putting on this gel print, the gel print was done with yellow and brown, and so that kind of indicated to me that I should use my dark shadow color to be brown. This is a water soluble pen that is made by Pentel, and it's called a color brush pen. So I'm using it, and then I'm kind of watering out my shadows around the edges using a water tank brush, which has water in the handle, and really getting my flamingo image to stand out from the background, because of course this looked kind of one note before I did that, because all the colors were kind of the same. You couldn't really see the flamingo standing out. I'm also going to add some detail lines with that same brush and blending it out with my water brush. Like I did on the outside, I'm going to do it on the inside too. And I did it around the flowers and around the centers of the flowers. So then I think I need a little bit of highlight, and I decided to do my highlight with white acrylic paint and a brush, and just adding a little bit of light to where I think the light should hit the flamingo if it was out in the sun, which it would be, right? Where else is the flamingo going to be? I mean, they don't live in houses. I also added a little bit of Posca pen, of course, just to do detail work in the eyeball. And I was still thinking about what I could do with heat, and I decided to get some embossing powder and do some heat embossing. This embossing powder looks like beeswax. It has a little bit of, it's chunky and has some yellow color to it. So I thought that might be interesting. To attach the powder to the canvas, I used the Versamark ink re-inker, kind of like a pen, just kind of lightly squeezing it and putting it where I wanted the embossing powder, and then kind of blending it out with my finger, and then that's where the embossing powder stuck. That would be the re-inker that you'd re-ink the Versamark watermarking clear embossing pad that I would normally use. But I used to have this pen that was a embossing pen, and you could write where you wanted the embossing powder to go, but I couldn't find it in my junk, so I just used the re-inker in the same way, and it worked fine. Of course, on the video you can't really see what effect that embossing powder has, but there will be a close-up at the end of the video, and you'll be able to see what it looked like and how it changed the color slightly in some areas and added even more texture. I already had a lot of texture from the fiber, so definitely look for that close up. So what was the last finishing touches? A little bit more Posca pen work, a little orange in the flowers, a little bit of green leaves that I put on. All that was woodies, Stabilo woodies, which are like fat crayons. Yeah, that was how I finished up woodies, I guess. So that's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.